Welcome back to Fire Haven. My name's Rob. Been gone for a little while. I've been going to school and work's been crazy, and I just haven't found the time or motivation, honestly, to keep the videos pumping out. But to make up for that, I hope this will be a lot of fun for anybody who's looking to buy a tarantula. This here is Big Bertha. She hails from Brazil and Guyana, South America. This is probably one of the biggest tarantulas out there in the New World. This is a Theraphosa Stirmi. What I'm essentially doing today is I'm going to revamp her house a little bit. As you can see, there's a little bit of substrate. There's really not much, and the more you learn, the more you realize that I could always do a little better with how I keep my animals. These guys are burrowers. They like to, find an old rodent hole and hang out in there. They're great display tarantulas, but they would prefer to be in the safety of some kind of a nook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little more substrate in here, a little bit higher, and then bring it down to give her some room to come down to a water dish or some other type of hide. But I'm going to give her the ability to dig down. I may actually put this half log hide in an angle, so I'm already doing a starter burrow for her. Some of the things you're going to want to have before you even get ready to rehouse or revamp the tank is another enclosure to temporarily put them in. So what I've done is I've just got an old Tupperware bin with some dirt in it, and I'm going to put her in here while I work on the tank. With her being a type of tarantula that kicks hair, and that's actually, I've learned, kind of a funny thing, because it's not really hair. I mean, mammals have hair. Invertebrates have something called setae. That's just a bristle-like protein that they have all over their body, and they use it as a defense mechanism. So you'll see that she's getting kind of bald on the back. That she's just getting ready to molt, I think, but if she's flicking that hair, it's going to rub it off, eventually go bald. Some of the things you're going to want with this type of a tarantula: science lab goggles. You remember these from when you were playing with Bunsen burners and things. You're going to want to have some good gloves. I've got some with a good thick rubber. I don't suspect that she'll try to bite me, but you want to have some of those handy. It has nothing to do with any virus. Excuse me. Maybe I breathed the hair in. You're going to want to have one of these. As you're rifling through the substrate, you may get some of those stray hairs. You don't want to breathe that stuff in. It really irritates your eyes and your throat. So I'll be wearing this while I do it. It's always good to have some type of a moving implement. So as I get her into a bigger cup, you want something big for a big spider, something to brush them in. As I move her from one enclosure to another, I just found this while I went downstairs prepping for this video. It's to stop oil from splashing. But it's a great little tool. And it doesn't hurt to have something tongue-like. I use a snake hook for some things, something extendable. You're not in the danger zone. I think, essentially those are some tools of the trade. So I'm going to go ahead and get her rustled up, and I'm going to put her in the temporary enclosure. So, mask on, goggles on, okay, gloves on. Now, she was a little defensive earlier. She's hanging out in her water bowl now. That's something to know with these guys. They love to be around their water. I find her hanging out in her water bowl quite a bit. She'll just sit there and drink. I think the first thing I'm going to want to do is get these wood pieces out without freaking her out too much. Just the vibration alone is going to startle her. You'll see a piece of toilet paper in there. She actually grabbed it from me one time and then took it into her burrow. grab this, hopefully it doesn't freak her out. Okay, here's the moment of truth. I'm going to take the lid off completely. Thinking the best way to go about it, grab a firm hand on this part and essentially lay it right over. And shuffle her up in there. Okay, I've got a little bit of a water bowl in there. Then I'm just going to put her down into the tank, the temporary. Okay, now that I've got that there, just slide the top right over. Pretty as a picture. Lock the top. Now that I've got her safely in her enclosure, I'm going to keep this stuff on. I do not want to get any of that stuff in my throat or eyes. I think it'll be okay to leave the old substrate, because really I've done a good job at taking out the old cricket bodies, boluses, been keeping it pretty well poop free. So now I've already pre-mixed some substrate up. So what I've done for the new bedding is I've used some jungle mix. I can't recall the company that makes jungle mix. I've added some coconut bark and a little bit of sand. So this is pretty basic substrate. Jungle bark that has a little bit of sphagnum moss, some peat. I think it said aged Douglas fir. I'm going to throw a little bit extra sphagnum moss chunks in there. So I don't have a cup. So I think I'll just, oh, here we go. So I'm just going to basically dump a bunch in here. These types of tarantulas do like a little bit more moisture. You're going to want to have a water bowl in there at all times. Doesn't have to be deep, but it has to be enough for them to be able, I mean, you'll find them just hanging out on their water bowl. So enough for them to put their whole body essentially in it. What I'm going to do is put the half log hide down in such a way that it's angled. And then should she want to tweak it, she can do that. The reason why I have Big Bertha in a tank like this one is they need a little more length than they do height. They have such big bodies on them, you don't really want them falling. So I'm only going to give her enough room to, if she were to climb up or get on something, she's really not going to fall that far. Pack it down real well. I'm going to put a little extra sphagnum moss. I like to decorate a little. Nice thing about having the sphagnum moss in here is that as it starts getting a little dry, it's easier to tell when it might be a good time to water it down. And what I like to do is find one area. I think I'll do this area here. Poke down a hole down to the bottom and water that one side. Essentially keeping one area, I don't know if you can see it, but down here the water is starting to soak. And this is how I gauge how much water I need to add. It's going to fill up the bottom area, and then that moisture will soak up. I think for funsies I'm going to do it on this side too. This will be how I gauge the moisture level inside here. I'm going to keep the water dish over on one side. I do have a little cheap stick-on thermometer. I don't know if it's really necessary. I just like to have a general idea. Okay. Let's get a little bit of decor going in here. I think maybe what I'll do is I'll just put this piece of wood there. Now she has something to kind of crawl over to get to her water bowl. There's kind of a nice humid area over here with a hide. Maybe I'll just move, yeah, I think that should work. We'll throw our other piece of wood in here just for fun. And I think we're ready to put her back in. Okay, yep, she's already sensing that something's going on. Right over the top. I'm going to put her over this area where there's a little bit of a hole for her to fall down in. And then it's just a and there you go. Safely moving your tarantula from one enclosure to the next without any harm. At no point was she ever in jeopardy of falling. And I think she'll be a lot happier having a more moist area over here, a big old clean fresh water bowl over here, and some walking area. So with that, we've safely moved the tarantula from one enclosure, temporary, to the new duded up enclosure. There's a nice deep area for burrowing. There's a walking space for her to move around. Big water bowl, clean water. I'll probably catch her over here a lot. And now a place where she can bury down and hide away from the world. If you enjoyed this video on Big Bertha, the Theraphosa Stirmi, the Burgundy Goliath bird-eating tarantula, be sure to give me a like below. If you have not hit the subscribe bell, please do that. It gives me endorphins. And follow me at Firebugs on Instagram. Hopefully I'll get some more tarantula and reptile-related videos out there. So without further ado, I bid thee good night, and you take care.